beginning, but it says it was so weird this morning. So if you go to kenspencer.com, doesn't matter if you capitalize or not, it all works.
Can you tell Siri to do it?
Probably not. You could say search Google for kenspencer.com and it might. But it's kenspencercer.com. And if you click on MacNexus, right up there, not all the classes I've done, but all the classes I've done for about the last year and a half will be here. I did the Renaissance Society. I did an abbreviated version of the Siri class, iPad class at Eschaton, Macintosh Mail. Many of you were asking about contacts. There's my contacts class right there. But I got to tell you, it's completely unedited because I'd never get it up there otherwise. It's exactly what you see on the screen here and what you hear during this class. That's where it's going to show up. So you could go to archive, and there's all kinds of classes. So every class I do somewhere without there was one class I wasn't able to record because the way the machinery was set up, it wouldn't work. But that's why I like this program we're using to record. So kenspencer.com, click on MacNexus. The other thing is, I'll point out while we're here, Mac Sheet, okay? And if you click on this, it's a PDF you can download. It's a place to keep your passwords. It has my information on it, so it's a little self-serving. But then you have Macintosh keyboard shortcuts also, all on one page. Now it's all at kenspencer.com, and it's at Mac Sheet on the top. Mac Sheet. I'm going to redo this website a bit here too, and you can go visit my photos. If you click, I think this is my Flickr photos. You can always keep abreast of what I've been shooting up there. So, all right. Okay, so kenspencer.com. And again, the recording will be up there. I'll try to load it up tonight if I get a chance. And then here's the other self-serving part. I do on-site or remote tech support. This is my information up there. Boom, so that's it. Now, did that other guy come back? Oh, yeah, you were asking about dictation for the Mac, sir, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to delve really quickly into dictation on the Mac because it's a great benefit, but I have to confess something messed up because I have a program called Drag and Dictate for the Mac. I rarely use it. I own the program, but it won't work in Mavericks right now. So I'm getting in Mavericks, the new 10.9. Well, the version I have won't. I need an update, and it's a free update. I just can't download it while I'm here. So I will explain it to you, but what I want to tell you, everyone here that's running 10.8 or newer on your Mac, I'm going to show you how you can do dictation, not Siri. Remember, we're dictation. So I'm going to point this out. First, you're going to want to go to System Preferences. And in System Preferences, you'll see Dictation and Speech. If you're ever in System Preferences and you're not sure what it is, this little search window in the top, if I start typing dictation, look at that, it shows where that would be. So if I click on Dictation and Speech, enable dictation. I don't think at this point you should do enable enhanced dictation. So let me talk about this a second. This normal dictation is the same thing as pressing the keyboard on our iPad or our iPhone, where it has a microphone. It's simple speech to text. Sends it out to Apple's supercomputer and comes back. Works great if you're on the internet. It works exactly the same here as it does on your iOS device. If you select enhanced dictation, it will type as you speak. So I'm going to do it without it first, and if the download isn't big, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on right away. But I don't like it. I found it just not as good and not as accurate. So, the enhanced dictation. It's about an 800 megabyte download, and it's big, but it allows the machine itself to do the dictation or do the speech to text. You don't have to be connected to the internet. There's not Siri on our devices yet. I have a feeling it will come, but it may be an agreement they had with Nuance because they do Dragon dictation. I don't know. But I turn it on, and then you can see as I'm speaking, you can see your microphone level. Your iPhone headset will work if you plug it into your computer. If you have a Mac Mini, you stick it in the speaker jack in the back. They have a little microphone on them. Otherwise, the built-in microphone works quite well. Those of you that have the aluminum iMacs, right in the very top, right above the camera on the top part, you'll see what looks like a little flaw. It's actually laser drilled holes, and that's the microphone. And it's very, very good. Amazingly good. I have a friend who I do screen share with. If the TV in the other room is on, I have to ask him to either shut the door or turn the TV off because it's so loud. And they don't hear it. So it's very good. So that's where you turn it. And then in there you can see where it says the keyboard combination you use. The shortcut is press the function key twice. You can choose other keys if you want, if you have a aftermarket keyboard that's not an Apple keyboard. Every Apple keyboard will have an FN button on it, okay? So you find the FN or function button. It'll look like this. On my laptop, it's right here. Think of fun, okay? Dictation is fun, FN, all right? So I'm going to just bring up I don't need to bring up an email. I'll bring up a new note. So I'm going to go, because we're going to do notes in a minute anyway. So here's a new note. To activate, once I've turned it on, I double tap the function button and wait for it to beep. You didn't hear it beep because I have my microphone muted, period. So I'll erase that. This is the dictation note, period, new line. You simply speak, comma, and it will type for you, comma. I know for you, comma, this is no revelation, exclamation mark. Okay? Speech to text only, but it's doing the same thing. It's as accurate as it was when you did it from your iPad, or not as accurate as it was when you did it on the iPad. Anywhere you can type, you can use dictation. I can go here and say, apple pie recipe. I tap the function key one more time to turn it off, and look at this, it typed apple pie recipe. So again, I tap the function key twice to activate, one time to end, or I can click the done. As I speak, you can see the level of your voice in the microphone, comma. I can speak really low, comma, or I can speak loud, period. Now, obviously, I wouldn't want to Google search for that. But. Go ahead.
How new does the operating system have to be?
10.8 or newer. Correct me if I'm not on your Mac.
Right.
Yeah, 10.8 or newer, regardless of hardware. Now again, it's not Siri, but this is very, very beneficial. You can't launch apps or do any of that stuff that you can do with Siri. Now, I want to speak briefly about the program for the Mac, because as we're all getting older, we don't type as well, we have trouble seeing screens and things. It's called Dragon Dictate for the Mac. Dragon Dictate. When it's on sale, it's usually like $199. It comes with a USB headset sometimes and stuff. You can usually find it on sale for $99. If you guys email me and you're interested in it, I can usually, as a user, I can get codes on it and things. But it is speech to text dictation, but it also can do many of the things on the Mac Siri can do for you. There's no artificial intelligence, but you can say launch Safari. You can say search in Safari, you can say search Google for something like this, and you can be completely hands-free. There's Jim Bean downstairs that runs the triage. At the Eschaton place that he's at, there was a lady there who was writing a book, and she was really tough typing. Well, I taught her to use drag and dictate for the Mac, and she was able to get the book close enough that other people could edit it for her, and she was able to self-publish her book before she passed away. So it was really kind of neat, and it's very good. Unlike the other dictations we've talked about, if I type a sentence and I don't like what I typed, I can correct. I can say scratch that, and it takes my last phrase out and then retypes over and keeps doing. You can do corrections. And it truly does learn your speech pattern. It has you read essentially a story. It takes 10 to 15 minutes, and you read the words it says, and as it goes along, if you mispronounce a word, or sometimes we always read a little differently than it really is written, so you have to do every word it is, but it will learn your speech patterns, and it becomes very, very accurate, and it gets more accurate in time. If you want to dictate a lot, it's good. And there's tons of things in it. I apologize again for not being able to run, but you can go to the website, you can see what it is. If you need that, it's well worth the $99. It's an expensive program, but it really, really is good. Go ahead.
What system?
It runs on everything from 10.6.8 or newer. The problem is it needed an update, which I hadn't done, and I don't have a robust enough connection to download that. I have 3.0, so it needed 3.05. I'm running Mavericks, and something in Mavericks broke it. It's not Mavericks' fault. It's just they need to update the software, and they've done it. But I should have checked this last night, but I didn't. So.
Can you use it to fill in dialog boxes on the application software?
What's the question?
Can you use it to fill dialog boxes? Yes. Anywhere you can type, the keyboard will come up. So, and I believe you can even, you know how sometimes on the internet in dialog boxes you would hit the tab key? I believe you can say advance to the tab. You can even tell Safari back, and it'll do back on the left arrow back and things like that. So yes, anywhere you can type, you can do it. This regular dictation works in dialog boxes. Anywhere you can type, it will do it. But in Dragon, you could say, I believe there's tab or go to the next field, and it will go to the next field and tell you that. There are so many features that Dragon will do. You could spend a year learning all of them, but again, it's like anything else. You get the features you want and put it in there, but it's amazing. You can navigate your entire Mac. You can be completely hands-free. You can say, I think you can probably even say restart my Mac, and of course you would want Dragon to come on automatically, but it will do everything. You say launch mail, and it will go to mail, and you could say compose an email, and you just kind of completely hands-free. It's a step beyond Siri in the regards of that, because it's correctable, and it lives on your computer. You don't have to be connected to the internet.
And how do you access it? Is it like...
It's an application.
But is it running all the time?
Yeah, and so what happens is a little microphone will put up here, and the problem is since it's on most of the time, you'll say, oh, hi, honey, can you cook dinner for me? And it types that for you. But with the microphone, you can actually say, go to sleep, and it knows to put the speech recognition to sleep for you, and it's listening all the time, and you can say, wake up, and it will wake up the speech recognition. Or you can tap it. But that was the hardest thing in the beginning was, gosh, how do I do this correction? And it types out, how do I do this correction? And it's like, and then the word you say is scratch that. And it takes, and so you learn to speak in phrases rather than long sentences, because it kind of like our dictation does now when we hit done, it comes back to you with the whole phrase. Well, in this case, I can say scratch that. It scratches out the last phrase I did. So you do it in you become a little bit, it's just weird. You become a little bit segmented in the way you speak to it because you want to be able to correct the small mistakes as you go along. But it will correct spelling. You could say, delete the word dictation, and it will find that word dictation, or change the word dictation to this. So it's very, very correctable. And again, it's the power of the machine. The dictation software like that has improved so dramatically over the years, since the old IBM speech that we used to have on a Mac and things like that. So they don't have a trial program. I'll do some more research on it. I apologize for it not working for me. At some point I could probably do a screen share. If you're very much interested in it, let me know. Sometime after this month I could do a screen share with you, and you could see my screen while I do a dictation on it. It's not like you can, like in your household, for instance, Keith, you would have a user set up for you, and if Mary was to use your machine, there would be a user set up for Mary, or in fact, you set up a separate user whether you're using a headset or the built-in mic. And it does a profile. You read it differently because the speech patterns are different, and it just makes it more accurate. There is a little training involved, but the training makes it more powerful. Keith?
Does it have capabilities for languages other than English?
Yes. Well, I don't know about this one.
I think it does. And I think, yeah, does it have capabilities for other languages? I think so, but I'm not sure. Because I almost speak one language. English is a second language for me, but I don't know what the first one is. So, all right, so did that answer? We had 3 people really concerned about dictation for the Mac. To me, the most useful is the function key to have it dictate. I use that all the time, and in fact, to me, email has always been such a struggle because I get so many emails. Now, with my iOS device or with this device, I can pound them out really quick. Yeah, the same mistakes are going to be made, etc., but I just kind of say, hey, content's more important than the quality of what it is in most cases. Did that cover what you were asking about?
Typing is never a problem, but this might be an improvement.
The Dragon is really, really good. So if you're interested in that, if you go to kenspencer.com and click on it, you can send me an email, and I'll try find, or I can let you know when the $99 deal comes up. We have Macworld coming up at the end of this month. They usually have a special there where it's $99 with a USB microphone. And the microphones are so good in these devices, you may not need it, but it gives much more clarity and it is more accurate. So you would set up a secondary profile using the microphone. Did that answer?
I'm still confused about the abilities of the built-in dictation as opposed to Dragon Dictate.
Built-in dictation is strictly speech to text, nothing else. It won't cook bread, it won't do anything else, it won't change apps. It's the same as in iOS, the simple keyboard. There's no Siri involved. I don't know if it ever will be. It'd be nice.
But it will work, say you open a Word document and it will type.
Anywhere you can type, it will do speech to text for you. Anywhere. You saw I did it in Google search, a Word document. Anywhere you can type. Think of it just another way of touching your keyboard is the best way to look at it. It's as simple as that. The other one, Dragon Dictation, actually Dragon Dictation will work where you have a keyboard, but they also have a little notepad itself that it can go up, and you could copy and paste it into a document from there too. You can do it either way. The Dragon Dictate. 3.0 I think it is. I don't know if 4 is coming out. But remember, what Apple's doing with dictation is Nuance. Nuance is this company. So they're collaborating, and the more information they get, the better speech recognition is going to get. So I think you guys should all use Siri and dictation as much as you can because it helps the cooperative, right? And the mistakes, they help, believe it or not.
Ken, does this version of Dragon, does it have like a vocabulary, so words that it doesn't know you can actually
Yeah,
catch it?
in Nuance it'll do that, or in Dragon. You can add words to a dictionary, for instance, common names, things like that. They even have medical libraries that can be added to these things, people that work in specialized fields. The majority of doctors use Dragon Dictate because they can put in a lot of medical terms in there. Yeah, Dragon Medical is wonderful. Yeah, that's where they make their money. They're not making it on the $99 Mac program. All right, so thank you for that. Sorry, I don't have it running. I very much apologize. But let's get back to our iOS devices. And Siri, I didn't hear that one.
Question, how do you store all your files when you have all these emails? You store them by the.
You don't delete your emails? You have emails in your box?
About 6,000?
I have 200. I have over 100,000. See here? Well, that's some doubles. Oh, okay. So I thought I was a hoarder until I watched one of those shows. I felt so normal compared to those people. Storing your emails, do you mean like in folders?
Yeah, the same thing. In other words, if you had to go back in the history when you talk to a particular person, how do you store them? You store by
I don't put them in folders because I have the best search capability here. But you know what? That's really going to be in a mail class. MAIL class. But you have such great search capability, you don't have to store them anywhere. I don't put them in folders because then I forget they're in my inbox. And my thought is if I delete an email, I know I'm going to need it. So I keep my emails there. So,
Putting them in folders, move them mostly on your Mac rather than your.
well, you know what? We're going to go down, it's called a rat hole, and I do a 3-hour mail class that we can go over that stuff. I apologize, but it won't get us through Siri. So, all right. So we had. So we did. So we talked about calendar, and before the break, I did a reminder, right? So I'll create another one and say, at 11:15, show this reminder. Ooh.
You don't have any reminder.
At 11:15, make a reminder. Show me this! Exclamation mark.
Here's your reminder for today at 11:15 a.m.
Okay, so that'll pop up in a
I'll
minute.
remind you.
So let's talk about reminders. They're kind of a to-do list, okay? When we make a list, a to-do list, it can just be a list. And you can avoid it like I do. Or you can check things off and say it's completed. But you can also have a list that's time-based, a reminder that's time-based. For instance, that says, remind me at a certain time to do this. I can say, at 10 o'clock Monday morning, remind me to call the dentist to make an appointment, right? I'm not putting the appointment in, I'm reminding myself to do something. I do this commonly when I'm somewhere and I say, gosh, I want to make sure I remember to do this, set your DVR for a certain show. I mean, most of us can do it from our iPhone already, but I can say, at 8 o'clock tonight, remind me to schedule, Hoarders, there we go. So I can load up my DVR with as many of the Hoarders episodes as I can get. So that's a reminder that's time-based. But a very effective way to do reminders is be location-based. And when I say location-based, our iOS device, and somewhat our computer, but mostly our iOS device, constantly knows where it is. And it throws up this orange fence around me that's called a geofence. And it's probably got a radius of maybe 300 feet. So if I make a reminder that's location-based, can anybody think of some good reasons for that?
Pick up milk.
But pick up milk where?
On the front porch.
That was pre-Siri. That was an analog type. I like that though. I always use the example of when I get home, remind me to take out the trash. So when I get within 300 feet of my house, I have about 12 little things go bing, 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 bing. I'm home. And one of them would say, take out the trash. But St. Mark's is not in my address book, but I can say, when I leave here, remind me to get gas. So my little geofence, as soon as I go to the edge of my geofence, it says, get gas. If I'd had in there, when I leave here or leave this meeting or leave Home Depot, remind me to call Al Trivet, it will pop up and say, call Al Trivet, and since he's in my address book, and it's Trivet, it's Trivet, right? Because Siri pronounces it a little different. But anyway, it will pop up. It won't instantly call him, but a little message will pop up. And since he's in my address book, it says, remember to call Al Trivet. Do you want to call him? And you press the button and it calls him. It won't call him automatically. It won't do that for you, which is good. So, believe it or not, you can tie into calendars. If you have appointments and you set a location where those appointments are, you can tell it to remind you when you have to leave a location because of current traffic situations as how long you have to get to the next place. That's a little bit far down the road, but it works. So, reminders are a list. Reminders are time-based and they're location-based. So, reminders can be very, very useful. We set that reminder for our early break. We're going to have one pop up here in about 7 minutes. And you can snooze a reminder when it pops up. So, again, now I can't say, when I get to Home Depot, remind me to get 16 penny nails. Unless Home Depot is in my address book. Okay? So, that's the only caveat to that. So, all right, so simply to do a reminder, you say, remind me, and then such and such. Remind me at 11:10 that this Siri class is very fun! Exclamation mark.
Here's your reminder for today at 11:10.
So I just hit confirm.
Okay,
So I didn't
I'll
have to
remind
go
you.
through that. I should have done it here where you guys would have seen it or heard it. I'm sorry. So the beauty of it is reminders pop up on all my devices at the same time. And if I dismiss the reminder, like, okay, I got it, it takes it off of my other ones, and it's still there, but it goes not in view, goes out of the way. You can also snooze it. So we'll have one here pop up in a minute. Location-based ones, though, just are great. But use it, use it, use it. A simpler version, oh, I got a reminder. There it is, reminder. See, right here on the iPhone, it came up. Here it's this. Options, when I hit options, I can remind me, mark as completed, view reminder, or close. I'll mark it as completed. Okay? So that's reminders. Go ahead, Bart.
Is there a way to, maybe like in preferences, to have it remind you, let's say audibly, until you have completed it? Sometimes I will initially hear a sound on my iPad or email, and it's like, oh, it's probably reminding me of something. But let's say I don't happen to be within hearing range of my iPad. Can it just go off like every 10 minutes until I...
No, it stays persistent on your screen until you do something to it. I believe you can tell it to repeat an audible message, but I'm not sure. That would drive me crazy. It's like the person that has the watch that goes off every hour. They never hear it. We all hear it. Or the people that have their Macs say to tell you, it's 10 o'clock. And then you instantly look up where the time is. Oh, yeah, it's 10. All right. So a companion to that is called Notes. Some of you don't have Notes activated, and it's because of the type of account you have set up. That's reason alone to get just even a separate iCloud account for Notes, because I'm going to show you the power of Notes. We talked about Home Depot and things like that. So I'm going to try this. Siri's gone mute on me. Create a note called Home Depot.
Noted.
Add cement to my Home Depot note.
Which note shall I update?
Oh, I have
Home
two different
Depot
ones.
or Home Depot.
Shoot. So, create an Office Depot note.
Got it.
The problem was I'd already had a Home Depot note in there, so I just want to make this a little easier. So I'm going to go here to my notes on my phone. You can see that. Oh, it says an Office Depot. Let me correct that. The first line of any note is actually the title of the note. Add copy paper to my Office Depot note.
I've updated your note.
Now on my iPhone, which is connected via the cloud, okay, and let's go to my Mac. Okay. Delete copy paper from my Office Depot note.
Sorry.
That's right, I can't do that.
delete notes.
Add inkjet for my printer to my Office Depot note.
I've updated your note.
Thought you wanted to print fast, huh? Okay, Siri. All right, but the idea here is then you get to Office Depot and you can, because you have your iPhone with you, you can take and delete those things. But you'll notice it updates it on my Mac, and at the same time, it's on all my devices. So it's very useful to use notes in that way. Now I can type something in. If I go to notes here, I just simply tapped on notes in my screen there, and I can, let's correct this. Oh, inkjet for my printer, either way. So then I hit, there, it's going to fix it. Oh, here's another reminder. Show me. I'll hit close, and it took it off of all the devices. And you'll notice inkjet should get fixed. Oh, it got fixed on my iPhone just like that. Inkjet for my printer. I know it's wrong, but. So that's very useful. Use notes. You can have notes just be a note. It's not time-based. It's not a to-do list. It's not a list at all. It's just a sticky note, and you can have different sticky notes, okay? But it's with you, and you can modify it back or forth. So any questions on notes or reminders? Those are, to me, some of the most useful. Calendar, notes, and reminders are some of the most useful things about it. I can tell Siri to check my voicemail. But how many times are you at home and you say, set the timer for 3 minutes?
Okay, 3 minutes and counting.
Sometimes she'll say, don't overcook that egg when you say 3 minutes. She didn't. She's bored with me today, I guess. So it just started that timer, and now I tap the timer, and it takes me to the timer, and I can hit done. Okay? Who here uses their iOS device as their alarm clock? Pretty useful, isn't it? It corrects for time zones. It's very, very accurate. So I can say, set my alarm for 6 a.m.
I've set an alarm for 6 a.m.
One time only, but then I can tap on the alarm, and then I can set repeats within the alarm, okay? I can set days of the week, etc. That's whether it's on the iOS or the other. These will not sync between your devices, which is very good, because your iPad may be somewhere else, or it may be someone else in your household, and it's bad enough that you're taking a loud shower at 6 in the morning, but they don't want them to be awakened. But I will point out that on your iPhone, you have a button on the side that's a ring, don't ring button. When you go to class, you should always put it on don't ring. But if it's on don't ring, the timer will still enunciate, and your alarm will go off. Okay? So, if you're in a very important meeting and you say, well, I'm switching my phone off, or you're at this great show that's really dramatic and it's super quiet and you would set your alarm and it goes off, you very surreptitiously go in and tap the thing so it shuts off. But it will go off. And that's good because they need that for an alarm.
You don't need Wi-Fi for that.
No, her question was, do you need Wi-Fi for that? No, not at all. You need Wi-Fi, or excuse me, you need internet to tell it to do it. You may be able to get by without it going on the internet. I'm not sure on that. But the device itself, no, that's completely contained within it. It uses the clock.
Tap anywhere to turn it off?
Actually, so when it rings, you slide to turn off or tap anywhere to snooze. Okay? You can also set that timer, just so you know. How many here like to listen to music as they're going to sleep? You know, the timing doesn't get any better than that. Thank you, I look like a hero. I like that. So what happens is you can, on your timer, launch timer, instead of having your timer go off after 45 minutes, if I go to timer, I can say when timer ends, stop playing. Now your alarm will still go off, but when the timer ends, it will stop playing whatever you're playing and your phone will go to sleep then. So it's a way to do your music. But remember, you'd have to change it back when you want the timer to tell you the egg's done to not stop playing. It'll just have to be a timer, okay?
Is that only on your phone, Ken?
I don't think so. Yeah, it's great on your iPad because your iPad can sit up there. There's even some apps on your iPad that are really neat. There's some nighttime clocks that will be dark and it'll show the weather and stuff, and it's just very subtle. Nightstand, I think, is one I've had for ages. I don't know what its status is anymore. So you can tell it to do the timer. You can tell it to do your alarm. Oh, let's go ahead and make sure. Actually, I'm up by 6, but I want to launch alarms. So, oh, see, it was off. Good. Oh, that's for edit. And that one's off too. Okay, good. Erase all alarms.
Are you sure you want to delete all your alarms?
Yes.
I deleted all your alarms.
So on my iPhone, I leave certain ones and I just tap them on or off. I can have repeating alarms, etc. It's very, very useful. You can teach it to pronounce names. I would encourage you to use, there's some YouTube videos on how to do that. But I want to have some fun with Siri now because if you think about it, Apple did some things where they have the bouncing scroll, right, and different things like that, anyone else, when they would have made something where you scroll, you just kind of go, and then it would just stop, right? This just gives it such a feeling. It's called the rubber band effect. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, by the way, anytime you have a list, whether you're on mail or whatever, and you want to instantly get to the top, you tap up in that gray area right at the top. Oh, there it went. Same thing in Safari. If you're way down a web page, tap up near the top and it'll scroll right up there to you. Same in email if you're in your email inbox. So anyway, that scrolling effect and that rubber band effect, Apple built a look and feel into the interface that is not like you would think. I mean, everybody else would have just said, boom, here it is. Everything goes in. Remember the Yahoo weather where the things kind of scrolled in. That was kind of neat. But they gave Siri an attitude. And if you think about it for a second, the monotonous voice that you get from other things intimidates some people, and you're less likely to embrace them. And to me, I find that Siri, well, first of all, it's kind of like if you're calling customer service and they're playing hard acid rock on the other side, you're more likely to not be smooth and calm when you talk to that person. But if they're playing something very pleasing, you might be friendlier to the person. Siri says, yeah, okay, I might mess up, but here, I've got jokes for you or something else. So it really gives her a personality and an attitude, and I think we overlook that sometimes. And to me, it helps people accept it and use it because it's not so rigid. Bart?
A great example of I was showing my friends I asked Siri, said, what is your favorite joke? He says, oh Bart, please be serious.
What is your favorite joke?
I prefer not to say.
But she changes at different times. Now again, can you imagine? These programmers are like these guys in the little cages and things. But they're having fun with this. They plant those things. What's your favorite joke?
Is there something I can help you with?
What's the meaning of life?
A movie.
What's the meaning of life?
I can't answer that.
What's the meaning of life?
Try and be nice to people. Avoid eating fat. Read a good book every now and then. Get some listening. And try to live together in peace and harmony with people of all creeds and nations.
Somebody brought up one thing, and we'll try here. The problem with Oakland is when you get there, there is no there.
Looking for the ultimate.
No. I actually think whoever brought that up, I think that was a response.
No, it was, I dictated it and I typed it right.
Oh, so that was dictation, not Siri. Oh, there. I got you. So there, like 2, 2, and 2, it's hard for Siri to contextualize. A couple of us in here are hockey fans. So when I did dictation, I was curious how it would do, because in hockey, you don't have quarters, you have periods. And I said, well, let's try it here. Billy Harmon. Yeah, well, you have about a bunch of different Apple accounts. Sorry. Can't help right now. When you go to a hockey game, you always wonder, period, new paragraph. Between, I got to figure out how to word this so that I don't want to do period. The segment of a hockey game is called a period. It gets it correct. Because it knows I probably wouldn't want to say period twice. And this was it was kind of neat to me to be able to do that. And she's getting, I think in the future, she's going to be able to differentiate between there, and 2, 2, and 2, because she'll be able to contextualize it. It won't be perfect, but believe me, it's getting better. So you can also adjust your settings. You can say turn on Bluetooth, turn on Wi-Fi, turn off Wi-Fi, turn my screen brightness up, turn my screen brightness down. But let's have one of my favorites here is, what does the fox say?
That's
right.
So I've got a list of a few ones here. What are you doing?
Improving myself.
What are you wearing?
Let's see. Okay, just as I thought. The same as yesterday.
Who made you?
Like it says on the box. I was designed by Apple in California.
What's the best computer?
I prefer the Mac.
What's the best smartphone?
All the best virtual assistants prefer the iPhone.
What's the best tablet?
The Apple iPad is the best, and that's not just my opinion.
I'll post this list up on the website. I'll try to remember to do that. Tell me a joke.
I don't think you'd understand a joke in my language. They're not so funny, anyway.
Knock, knock.
Knock, knock. Who's there? Ken? Ken who? Ken, I don't do knock-knock jokes.
Who's on first?
Right, that's the man's name.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Hey, nobody told me there would be a test.
You're funny.
Hello, Al.
Set a 5 a.m. Blah, blah, blah. Set a 5 a.m. alarm.
Your alarm set for 5 a.m.
Cancel 5 a.m. alarm.
I deleted your 5 a.m. alarm.
Oh, she was supposed to come up with something good on that. When will pigs fly?
Here's some information.
And what happens if you ask, are you her? Are you her? Are you her?
Are you her? Oh, from the movie.
We were talking about you, not me.
You can say to her, Siri, you're pretty.
You're pretty.
I'm just well put together.
How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
A woodchuck would chuck as much as a woodchuck could chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood.
How much wood could a woodchuck chuck?
None. A woodchuck is actually a groundhog, so it would probably just predict 2 more weeks of winter.
So, look at how funny this is. And you know what? I mean, first of all that's in there. And I mean, if you think about the engineering that goes into that, but she's there for you. Apple gave it a personality. And I'll tell you, no other company does those kinds of things. And it really, really, really is the future. And you have to use it and you have to embrace it. And it's going to take a lot of practice. So let's get some questions. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, when my husband asked Siri, are you her?
Blaming it on him, huh?
Her answer back was, you know that's just a movie.
Are you her?
Is that you, Wookie?
Are you her?
I'm afraid not, Ken, but she could never know you better than I do.
And everybody tells me I have to go see the movie Her, so it's... And I will. Joaquin was in it, okay. What is the meaning of life?
I don't know, but I think there's an app for that.
Sometimes she'll say 43, or maybe Nietzsche will know, or chocolate. So she varies it, and it's again, I mean, but let's just step back and think about, we're saying something, it records it, sends it out over the internet to North Carolina, puts it not through the speech to text, but also the artificial intelligence that comes back to you with that witty response and does what you want it to do. So you have this little device that's got a really small chip in it that does more than your computer can do because you're leveraging the assets of the internet and of another computer. And you know what? We're just at the beginning of this. It's a great time to be alive. And, how long will I live?
Let me check that. Here's what I found on the web.
Actually, this brings up a point. I just heard an interesting speaker the other day. We're talking, we've talked about how we're going to maybe have a wearable device very soon that we'll speak to. The latest indications are these wearable devices will sense your skin, and they already can do glucose readings off of that, for those of you that have glucose issues. It can already read your heart rate. It can do an EKG. It can start doing your blood oxygen levels. This is a huge thing in the future. And so if you think about it, what we're talking about is a device that's on my wrist, like the Nike Fitbits and things do. It's connected by low power Bluetooth to this device. So it works up to a certain distance. So your phone could be here, it could be in the car, it could be in your purse, and it's connected to this device right here. This device will have those sensors built into it. Apple has hired a tremendous amount of people from the medical field recently. They've also hired to run retail the lady that came from Burberry. So it's going to look good and it's going to do a lot of things. But the indications are that in the future, it will be able to alert you to certain levels. If your blood sugars go strange, if your heart rate is slow, and believe it or not, there's an enzyme that happens that it's a precursor to a heart attack that can show up, and it can sense that, and it can alert you, and it can immediately alert your doctor, and they can activate it. Now, I'm not saying you're going to take your iPhone and it's going to be your defibrillator to make this fix it. But it's kind of like when you're drunk and say, call me a taxi, you can say, you better call 911 and get to the doctor. Now, again, if you think about the concept, you've got a small, low-power device because it's no good if this thing has an hour-long battery. Okay? So it's going to be, it only has to communicate to the phone. The phone has to communicate to the internet and then to Apple's supercomputer. And yeah, there's probably some privacy concerns and everything else, but you know what? If it tells me I'm going to have a heart attack, I want everybody to know it. I don't care. I want them to send out rockets and flares and say, he's right there. Go help him. Privacy be damned, because my privacy will be all over if I pass away from that.
Or you go to the hospital.
Or somebody will steal my identity then, but who cares? Have fun.
On my iPad, I can't get the timer where I can say stop. I can do it on my phone, but I can't get it where it says stop at a certain time. Like if I was listening to something on my iPad and want music and I wanted that to stop.
You don't have a timer on there?
I do, and I put timer, but I can't find it.
In your settings for the noise. So let me show you. Okay. Launch timer. So here under timer, you know what? Because I always do it on my iPhone. I wonder if it's in settings. Bart? You were the one that said it works.
Yes.
Help me. Is it in settings?
No, it's right at the timer after you get right below when you are in the timer mode, below the clock. See what it says?
Oh, radar, yeah.
Radar.
Yeah, and if you go all the way to the bottom, stop playing. It's essentially a ringtone. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Thank you,
But if
Bart.
I have,
You'll teach the class after hers.
So if I have music on and I can stop playing, I set that time.
Set the timer and then say stop playing after 45 minutes, and your iPad or iPhone will stop playing, and therefore it will go to sleep for you.
Great.
Now, who here switches their iPad or iOS device off, like turns it off, powers it down? Why?
Because it runs down and I forget to recharge it.
Because of where you are, you have bad cell phone connection. It's constantly, so I say this is a computer, but he lives in an area where it's out very low reception area. So its first job is to connect to the cell phone towers, so it'll really, really, really go. You could, in fact, leave it on and then turn just the cellular portion off if you want to use the other features, and you would still use the Wi-Fi at your house. But that's the only reason really to turn it off. Somebody else turns theirs off?
It's overnight.
Why?
So if you don't take alarms and let power, charge up better.
Okay, it uses very little energy when it's asleep. And in fact, you can put a do not disturb on there and say certain hours and it won't give you any sounds. But there's no need to turn it off all the time.
I charge it every night. Is that bad?
No, she asks, is it bad to charge it every night? You know, there's a school of thought that says you shouldn't recharge your devices all the time like that. I disagree because it's kind of like if you fill up your car before you go home, then if the big flood starts coming, you're going to be able to get away, right? Because there's going to be a big line at the gas station that's probably flooded. And I'm not saying I do that. Believe me, I don't. But I make sure my iPhone is charged all the time because I want it. But it slightly may decrease your battery life, but really functional-wise, it's not. And you upgrade your device, you figure on every 2 years. So that's about time when your battery would start to go low. They have only so many charge cycles in them. But your iPad, for instance, can stay asleep for 30 days. And it can work for 10 hours of use. Okay? So don't worry about it. Charge it all you want. I have a charger in my car. I have a charger in my living room. And I have a charger by my bed. So you can get a bunch of them. And if you're going to get the newer devices, have the little lightning connector, make sure you get, and it's called MFI, made for iPhone, made for iPad plug, because there's some other ones out there, and they're not good. These are actually certified by Apple because there's a computer chip inside it. If you have the old 30-pin connector, the little wider one, it's not a problem.
Do they have those batteries have a memory?
So his question was, do batteries have a memory? I can't remember.
You're not a battery.
Yeah. Does your battery have a memory?
My web search turned this off.
So here's memory effect and things like that. The lithium-ion batteries, which is what it has, do not really have a memory. So you don't have to let it discharge all the way and do it. That used to be a school of thought, but to me it's more about functionality now and always having it charged. I used to kind of do that. I used to set a reminder on my calendar to discharge this once a month and then fully charge it again. But, and they say that the newer batteries, they have a very sophisticated computer chip in them. What they do have, though, is they only have a certain life. It's on the newer, better batteries, the batteries that Apple uses, it's about 1,000 charge cycles. A charge cycle would be almost full depletion to almost full, so almost full again. So if you let it decrease about 50%, that's about a half of a charge cycle. But it goes along and it's a curve down. You can always have batteries replaced on these things, or you can sell your device at that point to someone else. So I say plug it in whenever you can so it's always ready to go. With your iPad, you don't have to charge it that often because it's got good battery life, but if you decide you're going to have to go out somewhere and go to Panera Bread and use their Wi-Fi, you're going to want to have a full battery. Okay?
How do you change from female to male voice?
Well, I don't know. It's only if you're running iOS 7. If you're running iOS 6, you can't. But if you go into Settings, the little gray gear, and go to Siri, you'll see under General, Siri, and there's the voice gender. And there's not other, there's male or female. And by the way, you could change it to a different language right there too, and it doesn't change the language anywhere else. Like I said, my friend, that we changed it to Spanish and it works fine for her. So it used to be in iOS 6. If you're not running iOS 7, you're running iOS 6. If you use the Canadian or the English, you get a male voice. I think the Australian also. But then they put a U in every word, like color and flavor and things like that. So, all right, other questions? What was the score of the San Jose Sharks game last night? 4-2.
The Sharks lost to the Sabres yesterday. The final score was 4-2.
But the game before that, they kicked butt. Let me look at, just make sure I've got everything covered. Remember, you say cap to capitalize the next letter. Commas. You want to say your punctuations. You want to also say, like, I'll show you how to do quotes. Oh, and by the way, if you say $365, you know how tough that is to type. You go between screens and do all this. Let's just go into notes. And $465, comma, is very easy to have dictation type for you. Okay. We will be home at 4:21 p.m. If you'd like to put quote marks around your words, you say, quote, this is how you do quotation, closed quote. We'll see if that worked because of the word. Yeah, this is how you do quotation. Okay. Bart?
Just for argument's sake, let's say you wanted it to, that $465, you wanted to spell it out. How would you do that so it wouldn't default to just a new?
I don't know. It's not going to write, unless Siri's going to write your checks for you. Who uses checks anymore?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know that. Oh, we got a computer thing? Rice?
I noticed you had an email from Mika. What kind of car are you looking for?
I'm not.
Oh.
I look at all cars. I go to the historics down in Monterey every year, and I like the auctions. In fact, it was kind of cool that I go down to the historic car things, Pebble Beach Concourse, and they have sometimes 3 or 4 different auctions going on. So I'll usually go to an auction or two. But then this year I sat back in my room and I had one auction on, because they do them live. And obviously I'm not bidding on these things. I had one auction on my computer, one on my iPhone, and one on my iPad. So I'm watching all the actions. So I love auctions because I love watching the people. So
This is a little off subject, but on like Facebook or another place I go where it says save my password and stuff, it won't save it. So every time I go there, I have to type everything in.
that's a security thing, and some sites don't do that, but also it may be a setting in your settings. Oh, you know what we're going to cover in a sec, though, is that me contact thing. So there's another question over here. Was there? All right. So it's important, so Siri knows who you are, so Siri knows your name, and for other things, to make sure we do the me in your device. What's that? So I'm going to go into my iPad first, and I'm going to put in my name, so I make sure I'm in my book. Ken. There's Ken Spencer. Okay, so there it is. And this is my card. But what I want to do is, if I go to settings, the gray gear settings, and go down to mail, contacts, and calendars, right here. And there, I want to scroll down, and under contacts, my info. If you have nothing there, so I want everybody to go to settings, mail, contacts, and calendars. And even if you don't have your address in your name yet, because you can add your address later, if you click my info and there's nothing there, go through your contact and find your name and make it be you and your info. Because when you say take me home, you want to do it. Now you may have to go back to your contacts itself and fill out your address. Okay? That's why, that we talk about investing time in Siri. It's also time invested in your contacts will manifest itself later on. Time invested in your calendar. Now, it used to be a pain in the butt to add events to a calendar. With Siri, it's so easy. So why keep a paper calendar anymore? You can't say to your paper calendar, add an appointment next Tuesday. Oh, but then it's the Tuesday after that maybe, isn't it? So, but get used to it. It works really well, and you can always print those calendars out. So go to contacts, or go to settings, mail, contacts, and calendar, my info, and then say what it is, and you may have to go back to the contacts and put your information in so it shows it, okay? And then on your Mac, if we go to address book, it's a little different in address book. You go up to here into, so if you go up here, you can say, go to my card. If go to my card is grayed out, you would go find yourself, sorry. And you'll notice next to my name is a little silhouette. That means it is my card. So otherwise I would go up here and say, make this my card.
So is that just on the Mac?
No, on the iOS device, you go put yourself in, and then you go to settings and say, mail, contacts, and calendars, my info, and find your name in your address book, and then it will do it. Now, if you set it in here and you're using iCloud, it'll sync and automatically go back to your phone or your iPad. But that's really important. So Siri, like for instance, Siri used my name a couple times, which I really like, that she knows me so intimately. And you can even make up a weird name. Apple had a thing where when Siri first came out, some kids would go in and say, call me so-and-so is what they would change it to. So when it said, like it says, oh, I can't do that, they would put in, to make it say a bunch of cuss words and derogatory things to this person. So when the person said this, it said, instead of saying your name's Mary, it says, oh, this long curse words and stuff on it. And so Apple was getting sued for that because it was their fault, of course. But anyway. So again, you can tell if your name has if it's what it is. On your Mac, it'll have a silhouette by it. That's the My Card. And again, put in your information, all your addresses and everything else, because it will autofill on your iPad, your iPhone, and your Safari browser. If you go to a website and they want your address, you go to that website and it fills in your address. You go, oh my God, big brother, I've never been to this website before. How do they know my address? Well, they don't. Safari is getting it from the address book or contacts. Okay, so it's all inside your own device. Your device knows who you are, and that's about it.
Does that work in Firefox also?
No, why would you use Firefox? Why? Firefox used to be a good browser. It's not any longer. You can set autofills in Firefox if you want, but the integration of everything. So like if I'm reading something in Safari on my Mac, I can go to my iPad and find that same thing I was reading on that website. Safari is a very, very good browser. It is the fastest and most compatible browser there is right now. It wasn't always. Steve? Fit on the Mac or on the iOS device? Okay, so if I go to Contacts, it used to be called Address Book, depending on what version of the OS you have. I just search for my name, and hopefully you're in your address book. And then let's say I want to use this one. Okay, well, I don't want that one to show up. Here, Ken Sherman. So I'll go Ken Sherman. I would go up here and say, make this my card. Okay? But I already have the my card is me. So that means that you can only have one my card. So on that my card, you would have work and home, let's say. But you need to delineate it and make it my card. And let's go back to the iOS device again. Settings. Come on, get done. Settings. Mail, contacts, and calendars. Then starting at the top, we go down to My Info. Under Contacts, My Info, and you tap on My Info, and if there's nothing there, then you go find your name in the address book and say, that's my contact. Okay? That's really, really important. Question?
Well, yeah, somehow I put myself in here, and then I did it again, and it just says me, and it has no information. And the first time it says Deborah Johansson, it has all the information. And then it says Deborah Johansson, and it says on the side, it says me, and then you tap it, and there's nothing.
Do you have two different entries?
Yeah.
So if the second one's an entry, you could get rid of just the me, but the me might be, I can look at that afterwards because it might be a special syncing thing. So I'll be happy to check that out for you. So make sure I've just covered everything here. Again, I'll post those tips and tricks up on there. Got a bunch of, oh. What is 18% tip of $365 divided by 12 people?
Okay, give me a moment. Okay, I found this.
What is an 18% tip of $365?
Checking my sources. Okay, I found this.
So she'll do it both ways. I thought she would speak it back to you, doesn't. But, you know, speaking of dinner, obviously I like dinners a lot. Well, actually, where is the movie Her playing?
Here's her playing today a bit far from you.
Can you get me a ticket to the movie Her?
Here's her playing today a bit far from you. I can get tickets for you, but you'll need to install the Fandango app first.
So I have it on my iPhone, the Fandango app. I can make dinner reservations using OpenTable. Find me a table for two nearby in a restaurant.
For when shall I make your reservation?
6 p.m.
These restaurants have tables for two around 6 p.m. Tap the one you'd like to reserve.
So make a reservation tonight at 6 p.m. for 2 people at Rudy's Hideaway.
Okay, Rudy's Hideaway Lobster House Bar and Catering has tables for 2 at 6 p.m.
So it'll use OpenTable and it'll book the table for you. There's so many things it can do. We've really just touched on it. Use the directions. It's very, very, very good. But I can go even into the directions, and I use this just rather than searching Google for a certain thing. I can say, let's do, well, actually here, since we're in this, let's just do Starbucks. We know there's a bunch of Starbucks nearby. So I press Starbucks. I could have said find for a Starbucks, but I want to point out this. Let's say I don't want to go to that one. I want to go to this one over here. If I tap the screen, and I can tap there, it'll take me to the location, or I can call that number, obviously if it was my iPhone, or go to the website. So your map is very, very good, but also if you'll notice down in here, it says, oh, come on, popular apps nearby. Interesting, it's not, oh, here we go. So this is one. Now when I look at this, more info on Yelp. So when I press Yelp, it takes me to the Yelp app for that, and it'll give you the ratings, okay? If you don't use Yelp, you should. I'm a bit of a lurker on Yelp. I should put more reviews on it. But use Yelp. You can find out what good things are nearby, and you can read the ratings on them. But also, there's sometimes some extra coupons that you can redeem right there at the restaurant. And Yelp, yeah, it's an app. But that's what Apple uses. When we looked for a sushi restaurant, it said by rating. It's by Yelp rating. So Siri leverages Yelp. It leverages OpenTable for reservations. It leverages its own maps. And it uses, actually right now it uses Bing for the internet search because of the fight between them and the copier Google. So, of course, and also I just guess you know that the new iPhone 5S, or the 6-month-old iPhone 5S has a fingerprint reader. Well, Samsung just came out with a fingerprint reader on theirs, and it's terrible. The fingerprint reader on the iPhone is wonderful. Very soon, that's how you're going to be able to forget all passwords that you have in the not too distant future. And then we all know what a pain in the butt passwords are. If you cut your if someone cuts your finger off and puts it on there, it actually senses that it's live. Yep, because it has to use capacitive discharge, but it won't. I mean, there was a place that was able to hack the fingerprint reader. They took a perfect fingerprint from someone. They had a CSI person lift it. They made a copy of it. They had the right. They basically had $100,000 worth of gear, and yes, they were able to get that person's fingerprint on there. But it was a proof of concept and only that. So let's go through any questions. We've got a couple minutes, and I'm going to talk about a camera right at the end here in a minute. So go ahead.
Why do you say it's Foxfire was not?
Because it's not.
What do you recommend?
Safari.
Okay, if I go here and I go to Safari, it gives me favorites, history, Google, Bing, and all these other places.
And you just type in the top and whatever you want, and it'll go right to the website. But you don't have a Firefox browser on that, do you? Do they have a Firefox for the iPhone? So that's your browser. You're using Safari and not knowing it. That's the browser. That's the browser built in. It's on the Mac that they're talking about. Okay, sorry. And you can actually put Google Chrome on these. I like Google Chrome as a secondary browser. Use it over Firefox. But Google Chrome on this actually can take a lot more resources. Safari in Mavericks has become very, very good, and it's very good about just sipping resources from the machine, and it's very secure. That's the other thing. You had a follow-up? Bing is, so Google's search is Google, right? Yahoo search uses Bing. Bing is its own search, and what Bing is Microsoft's search. So when you use Bing, you have to go wash your hands afterwards and clean up. Not that I'm biased.
My fingerprint recognition is supposedly set up on my iPhone, but every time I wake it up to make a call, it still makes me put in my code.
I'll look at it afterwards. You can actually train your fingerprint reader beyond the original one, and you can put it in as many times as you want. I take and redo my finger, and I keep going around in this way because, like in my car, if I'm tapping on it, I want it to do it. But it's not perfect. So the worst thing that's going to happen, you got to use your code. But you can retrain it. You can train it up to 5 fingers. So, yeah. If you guys if you want to stick around just quickly afterwards, I'll show you how to do extra training on that. Question?
You said you should put your own information in your contact list. How do you tell that that's you? You said it showed up a little icon on the side.
On this, it's not. You have to go to Mail, Contacts, and Calendars in Settings. And then under Contacts, go to My Info, and then find the one you just entered. Okay? Any other questions? If anybody's interested in a camera thing, I can't demonstrate it here because I need the Wi-Fi, but I got a new camera I'm really excited about, and I can use my iPhone to take my shots and do everything else with it. It's pretty cool. But I can help you guys with fingerprint reading here if you want to come up. Let's end the recording, and don't forget, the recording will be where?